Superwolf's animations are unsurprisingly filled with references. So let's start where she does, her transformation, as it alone contains multiple interesting references. To start with, she swipes her cartridge across her glove in order to begin the transformation, just like a load of transformations. Ryuko Matoi does this when transforming Senketsu for an example that's totally not just an excuse to bring up Kill the Kill. Maybe it is deliberate though, since Bronya also clicks her heel like Satsuki does in Kill the Kill as well. But the thing that actually popularised this, and that everything else is generally referencing, are Super Sentai shows and Kamen Rider. I don't actually know which one did it first though. What I could find was Gosei Sentai Dai Ranger, which is what actually became Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in the US. But I've never gotten into tokusatsu yet, so please, if you are a rare toku nerd, let me know if there's any earlier examples, and tell me what you think in the comments. Then the camera spins, she gains her wings, and pulls down a pair of over-the-top pointed glasses. These are absolutely from Gurren Lagann. They are the most iconic design element from that show, starting with Kamina, then Simon wears them too, and they are even put onto the Gurren Lagann itself, in such a cool, over-the-top mech design choice. Every increasingly over-the-top variant of the Gurren keeps them in some form too. I like the choice of reference here too, because Bronya, that she is an XP of, is known for having drill hair, and here, level 999's Silver Wolf gets a second drill tail. Also though, I think the star she gets in one eye might be related. It's just a generic star shape, but Trigger really likes using stars like that in their animation, to the point that it is the first thing I thought of as soon as I noticed the star. Then finally she crosses her arms as the wings blast out a wall of light, which I think I can really expand on and give context for. While there are a few reasons they might have chosen these wings specifically that we'll get into, they are clearly a reference to the wings of the Strike Freedom Gundam. And as a massive Gundam fan, I can tell you there's actually some interesting context behind that. The Strike Freedom is from the show Gundam SEED Destiny, a standalone alternate universe series that was somewhat designed as a loose remake of the original anime from 1979. And it's interesting because that show varies widely in popularity across the globe, and the specific Gundams from it even more so. For a long time in the West, the show was actively hated and made fun of by Western fans, while in Japan it was one of the most popular Gundam series and received consistent Gunpla releases and even a sequel movie recently 20 years later. No one likes it more, however, than China, and this especially applies to their taste in Gundams. You can see from a recent global popularity poll that the Strike Freedom didn't make the top 10 globally or in hardly any individual region. Its new variant from the recent movie does, and that might also be splitting the votes, but still. The original Strike Freedom does appear in China's top 10 though, and that new variant is ranked even higher than other regions at number 1 for China. Even more than just this poll though, you can really see how ingrained this series and its design aesthetic is in China by looking at their own Gundam designs. There's been a growing market of third-party mecha kits, mostly from China, and just looking at some of the recent releases you can see a propensity for spikes and wings and everything else from SEED. So China just disproportionately loves the Strike Freedom and the series it's from far more than the rest of the world. And for Hoyoverse and its founders specifically, the series likely came out right as they were teenagers. The perfect time for it to help form their idea of what a Gundam series is. Now, there could be something else. While researching, I saw some people say that it was actually probably a Hyperdimension Neptunia reference, since it has characters with similar wings, is all meta about video games just like Silver Wolf is, and she even shares a VA with the main character Neptunia. However, I'm inclined to think it's just a coincidence, because Neptunia itself is a game series built on referencing other things, and while Silver Wolf's actress voices Neptunia, that connection is only there in English, which I'm hard-pressed to think Hoyo cares about. It's still interesting though that there is a connection, and I know fans of the games will be happy just to hear it talked about. The pose she's doing though is the Gainax Pose, named as such because it's a recurring feature of Gainax anime, and continues on into Trigger's work, as that's where most of the staff moved to after Gainax's decline. It started in Gunbuster with both the pilot and Gunbuster itself doing it, and it's easy to see why it stuck around, since it is so awesome. Gunbuster's so cool once it actually gets going, man. But that was actually a reference to another mecha, Getter Robo G. In the 1975 manga's final battle, the Getter Robo pulls this pose, and that's pretty definitely not a coincidence, as Hideaki Anno, the director of Gunbuster, is a massive otaku, just like the rest of the Studio Gainax founders, who have referenced loads of things across their works, and even began by making fan movies. Her glove that she swipes the cartridge across to begin her transformation is an obvious reference to Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet. I checked the stones as well, but they're all in a different order though. Her glove is also missing a socket, since the one on the back of the hand is just a techie kind of light. The stone that she's missing as a result though must be the Time Stone, because she otherwise doesn't have a green one at all. Kind of ironic, considering her whole thing with the cartridge and it basically bringing through her future stronger version. I think at least I'm not caught up on the story. I like to stay behind and just play as much as possible at once when I get a good amount of time. But I do wonder if they got the idea for that being the source of her power from Awako, a character not from Fate, but from one of the author's other works, Mahoyo. Awako uses true magic to similarly basically bring her future self into her present and become vastly more powerful. That's kind of hugely oversimplifying it, and maybe someone in the comments can go into detail about Awako's abilities, because they are very interesting with all the ways she uses time and the Nasuverse lore that goes into it. While you're down there checking the comments, you can also subscribe. I mean, the button's just right there. Isn't it tantalising? How can you resist a big red button? Silver Wolf wouldn't resist it. Aha, wouldn't. Go on, press the big red button and see what happens. Well, now that we're all stuck in a real-life Fallout reference, let's move on to what happens after Silver Wolf has transformed and talk about her various attacks. The kind of loot boxes that she gets are the same as the item boxes from Mario Kart. Her sword is from Minecraft, only recoloured purple here, which I guess means you could say it's enchanted. The spin attack that she then does with it, I saw people say while researching might be an attack taken from Link, but I wasn't a Nintendo kid, so I can't really tell you whether that's true. The bomb that she throws is most likely from Bomberman, and the explosion from it even has the over-the-top shades added to the cloud, which is pretty cool. The final variant of her enhanced basic attack is, of course, Pac-Man, which she also has as her technique, There's another layer to that technique though, because while Pac-Man is running around, it plays the song Cyberangel from Honkai Impact 3rd, which is a pretty neat reference to her being an XP from Impact 3rd. Also, before she uses Pac-Man as part of her enhanced basic attack, she builds up and pulls back a ball of energy, which looks like it could be a reference to the Rasengan from Naruto. Finally, her big last hit is again another thing taken from the Strike Freedom Gundam. It's an attack that looks just like the kind of thing it would do with its many funnels that can fly around under the pilot's control and help shoot beams at enemies from basically every angle. Her enhanced elation skill is one I'm not sure about though. It reminds me of Godzilla, but I don't think it's actually close enough to be that, since it's just because it's a mouth beam that it makes me think of Godzilla, the most iconic mouth beam user, and I can't think of any time Godzilla or any kaiju from his movies fire a beam down from the sky like that. The actual attack that comes out is more like Independence Day, if anything. Her regular unenhanced basic attack though might be a reference to Final Fantasy IX. It is just a fist that comes out of the ground, but the character that does it is a silver wolf, so maybe. Her skill, on the other hand, seems to reference one of Bronya's ults in Honkai Impact 3rd. I don't know if that is originally a reference to anything else though, but it makes sense that she would of course reference the original Bronya. Finally, her idol has her stop to just play Beat Saber. It's not even really a reference, she's just straight up playing the game. Then her kit text also has some stuff too. Her global passive is called Makawulfi 999, which is actually really hard to pronounce, in reference to McAfee antivirus. Her whole unique energy system is hidden MMR, which is how a lot of online games figure out who to put in a game with each other. MMR stands for matchmaking rating, so hidden MMR is basically the hidden rating you're given based on your performance in the game that can then be used to try and match you with players of a similar skill. So for example, even if you're a low rank, if you're a pro player, after only a game or two, you'll still start getting paired with other extremely good players, rather than getting to keep wrecking the new players at the bottom rank. Her basic attack is called One Punch, and so might be a reference to One Punch Man. I say only maybe though, because it is just a normal combination of two words, so it might not be a reference. Most of her other ability names are just general gaming references, I think, but her E6, I think, is a combination of just modern slang where someone says they're maxing something, and also maybe solo leveling, since that became extremely popular and is about, well, solo level maxing in a game. And also another thing that makes that feel more likely is because her online name is shown to be leveling solo, which definitely feels like it strengthens the case for it being an actual reference. Finally, in her trailer, the wiki says there's a reference to not just Devil May Cry, but also a popular meme mod that replaces Virgil's seat with just a garden chair. I'm yet to play DMC myself, so even though now that I see it, it is quite blatant, I wouldn't have been able to catch it otherwise without the wiki's help. Her trailer references loads of other games too, like League, Tetris, Mario, Doom, Angry Birds. There's too many to mention, since a lot only flash on the screen for a split second, and I don't want to spend too long on her trailer instead of her. I doubt it's really what you came here for. But I will say Street Fighter gets a little more than others in the trailer, because when she uses her basic attack, she herself does a DP. Ryu and Ken's invincible Dragon Punch counter move, as the fist from her basic comes up and out of the ground. And it later then also shows her in a fighting game alongside all the other quickly referenced games. So it's worth mentioning because maybe her basic attack is supposed to be a Street Fighter reference. It doesn't feel like it in game though, but maybe. And I think that's about it for what I can cover. I'm sure there's lots more. I don't know about fashion, for example, but I can't see anything blatant in her design that I can recognise, so that's all. Thanks for watching, subscribe if you enjoyed. I also have another anime specific channel if you want to check that out. Until next time, bye!